Greetings, friends and future friends. Today, let's talk drums. But this is part 2. So let's talk drums in the Korg Pa5x. I'm going to show you today how you can go into the drum editor and edit all the parameters in that drum kit. Volumes, EQ, things like that. And now you have a little understanding about electric drums in part 1. You're going to go through this in a breeze. So let's get started. Okay, let's talk drums with the Korg Pa5x. All right, I have a zoomed out shot because I want to make sure you know. Let's make sure we go from player 2 to player 1. This is the button we push when we're going to be playing a sample or playing a style. This is that record button if it says go to record mode. This is the exit, and this is the menu button. When I say I'm hitting the menu button, that's this button up here. And, of course, the play button's down here. Okay, let's zoom in on this and see if we can get a little tighter shot of the screen. Okay, let's talk drums in the Korg Pa5x. I got Chain the Fools 01 fired up in the styles, and I got an E minor plugged in, so play it. Sounds good. So we can start off, we'll go to the mixer, and we're going to play with the drums. So let's solo the drums. And now we play it. All we have is drums. Let's go to menu, drum editor. And now we have the drum set. And what we can do is we can tap on the kick drum, go up to the volume. We just took the kick drum out. We'll tap on the hi-hat. Now all we have is a snare. And now let's look at it. Now, remember, when you're changing these parameters, if this isn't lit up, now, if I change this parameter, that's changing the parameter of the hi-hat. You can hear the hi-hat coming back. So let's get rid of it. So let's go back to the snare. And we can change the volume of it. We can change the EQ. You can really hear the chain. The lows. Go back to 0. Now, the other things to think about is the tune. Chorus tune, if we go over here and click on chorus tune, that's going to take it down a whole half step. And fine tune just takes it down. So at 50, that's about half of a half step. Now, ambience volume and ambience time is basically like a mild reverb. So if we bring this up again. It's hard to hear in these microphones I'm using, so I can narrate this at the same time. But you can hear the difference. It's like a mild reverb. So if we add this, now we'll add time. At minus 64, it sounds like there's no reverb at all on it. And I'll take it to plus 64. Let's bring these back down to 0. And you can do this with any part of that drums. You can do the kick drum, the snare, the toms, the hi-hat, the cymbal crashes, and the other instruments that are in your rhythm. And a cutoff, decay. Now, the other thing is too, when we talked about, if you watched the first video, when we talked about drums, if we go over here and we go up to attack, what we've done is we've added time to that attack. So now the attack is right on. So at 0, back down to 0, it's basically attacking right on. That sample is triggered right on that hit. And you can hear it, boom, boom. And now it's kind of attacking, and also it's not attacking with velocity. So the attack is kind of the amount of velocity. So the attack is kind of the amount of velocity and the timing of delaying that hit and delaying the velocity, or delaying the timing of the hit and taking a little bit of the velocity away. Now let's go down to decay. Now, minus 64, it's almost like using expander compression on a snare drum. It's real subtle. I mean, not real subtle, it's real staccato. There's hardly any ring to that snare at all. Now you can hear that snare is ringing a lot longer. So the decay is actually the amount that when that strike takes place, how quickly does it fall off? Is it and matter of fact, when we go to minus, it's almost like it's cutting it right off before it even peaks. In years of playing music and recording music, we usually used an expander on the snare drum to give it that real quick boom, 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 instead of a boom, boom. And again, at minus 64 and at plus 63 or 64, almost sounds like that it goes back to that ambient volume. Although we're not applying anything to it, it has more reverb to it. And let's go down to the next level. Let's go down to 0, cut off. This is basically a high pass filter. So in other words, what's happening is you're cutting all the highs off at minus. And you're basically changing the cutoff point of the frequencies. So at minus 64 with the cutoff, it's going to be a little bit bassier, really. It's a frequency cutoff. And then at plus 63, it's going to sound more trebly. Let's bring that back to 0. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, and the resonance is basically the sound of the drum. At minus 64, it's going to be a little bit louder and a little bit more pronounced, because it's going to be the resonance isn't going to be there. You're going to be hearing most. So the resonance at minus 64, there is 0 resonance basically, or what's happening is you're hearing mostly of the drum, and then at 0, at plus 63, there is no, it's a volume change. It's basically talking about the resonance of the drum and how it's reflecting in its area, or how the sound is reflecting. The big thing to know about it is that at 0, it's basically playing what the sample is playing. And when you subtract the resonance, it actually will sound like the drum is playing clearer. So then that will get back down to 0. And to be honest with you, when you're setting up your drums, even when I set up my electric drums playing, it's a matter of taste. And sometimes you can go through all these menus and just figure out what sounds good to you. And what I would do is, if you're really concerned about a sound, is to actually go in there and change things. So let's go back to the, what we're going to do is we'll go back here to the kick drum, bring it back up, bring the snare back up, bring the hi-hat back up. And bring all these things up, make sure everything's cool. And you know what? I'm going to go to that hi-hat and I'm going to add a little ambience volume. I'm going to bring that up a little, make that stand out a little more. Bring the resonance down. Now, here's the thing. What you're going to do, what you're going to find out is, let's see how this works in the mix, because that's the most important thing. So let's unsolo that. Sounds pretty good. So what happens now is this. We'll go back here, exit out of this, and go back to the main. Now, what we want to do is we need to save that. If we don't save that right now, so we change the resonance of we add a little less resonance to the hi-hat and a little bit of ambience volume. But if we just go up here and hit a thing, go to another style, play, and then come back to Chain of Fools 01, go, okay, and now let's go back to our menu, go back to our drum editor. Now we go back to the hi-hat. You're going to see that ambience volume did not save. So let's go back to that hi-hat, change that to 63. Now, what's happening is that ambient volume, we'll go up here and then we're going to save style. Yes, you're sure? Yeah, save style. Now, let's exit back out. We go here and change another style. Play it. Okay, let's go back to Chain of Fools, exit. Go back to drum editor. And you're going to see, well, let's do this again. Let's go back in here and we'll go to country rock. Exit, go to drum editor. And you can see in the style country rock 01, we go to drum editor. You're going to see the ambient volume is 0. Now we go back, exit. Let's go back to style, chain of fools 01. Exit, go into drum editor, go into drum, and you'll see that we saved the ambient volume of that hi-hat at 63. So one thing to take away from that, what you want to do is make sure that when you make a change to that drum set, make sure that that drum set, that style, you save that in that style. You're going to go up here and save it to that style. Because if you bring that style up again, and you did not save this change, you go to another style, and then you come back to it and say, hey, let me work on that again. The change in that drum set would not change. And here's the other thing too. Let's go to vintage numbers. Okay. Here's the other thing too to take away from that. This change, you just see what I just have done there. We had, let's go exit out of this, go back to another style, exit, play. Okay, now let's go back to our chain of fools. Exit. Go back into drum editor. Okay, we have Funk Kit 1 Ambient. Now, that's the kit we have, and we had to make that save to the drum set through the style. Now, the thing that's kind of something you need to wrap your head around right here is that this change to this drum set is not actually a change to this drum kit. This drum kit change, or this drum set kit, is only to the chain of fools. So now if I exit out of this, go to chain of fools, and we go down to mixer, and I go, hey, you know what? I'm going to change that to, let's change that to a vintage kit ambient one. Go back. All right, so now we changed the drum kit. Let's go back to the menu, drum editor. It's still at ambient volume for that hi-hat is at 63. So again, something to take away. When you make a change to the drum kit in that style and you save that style, that setup, that change you made to that drum kit will actually stay with the style no matter what drum kit you bring in. I brought in the vintage kit ambient. It's a completely different drum set, but that change is still there. So that's one thing you got to remember. When you're going, in a way, it's great because now I know that, hey, I want that hi-hat to ring out in this style. And no matter what kit, I bring up any drum kit I want. Jazz kit, exit, go to drum menu, drum editor. Boom, that hi-hat is set there. So one thing you want to be aware of when you bring different kits into these different styles, when you're changing and bringing different kits into these different styles, make sure you go to the drum editor and check and see, because maybe something has changed, or maybe you changed something in that style and you brought another drum set in and now you say it doesn't sound good. Well, this arrangement here, all these parameters are saved to the style and not the drum kit. Again, you can see that's minus 63. I can bring in any drum set I want. That's still going to be 63. And we got, hey, I just changed the Fusion kit R&R. Okay, let's exit out. Fusion kit R&R. Okay, let's change this style. Let's go to country rock again. Exit out. Okay, we're playing that style. Let's go back to Chain of Fools. Boom. Oh, went back to Funk Kit 1 Ambient. Yes, because that was the original drum kit that was saved to that style. And if we go to drum editor, there it is. That ambient volume is still at 63. Even though, now, if I change this drum set, we go in here and we change this drum kit. Now, if I save this drum kit, I go save style, which I don't want to do. If I say save style, what's going to end up happening is it's going to save that set. So then when we bring this up again, that drum set would be actually the Jazz Kit 1. So again, try to make this clear for you. When you make adjustments in the drum editor, those adjustment parameter settings follow the style and not the drum kit. That'll allow you to change the drum kits, but these parameters will always stay the same until you change them. So Let's get back out here. Let's go back to Country Rock again. And let's go back to Chain of Fools again. It went back to my Funk Kit 1. And there you go. That's how you use the drum editor. Really cool. Again, you go in there, there's a lot of stuff you can change in this thing. Now, for a lot of people that want to change, you can change the sounds, all the different things. And it's pretty cool. It's a really cool thing to be able to edit the individual drum sounds in that mix. And here's the other thing too. What you want to do also is when you're playing your editing your drums, make sure you hit the fill buttons. You know what? That cymbal. Let's add some volume to that. Do you hear how that cymbal now? Do you hear how that cymbal, that crash cymbal, is a little bit louder because we add a little bit more ambient volume to it? You know, let's take the resonance away from that a little bit. Wow. Listen. We took some of the resonance out of it. Let's take it about 39. We took the resonance out of it. And I'm going to play the fill. I'm actually playing fill 3, I think. Do you hear how that crash cymbal's a little bit louder now and a little clearer? You know what? I'm going to add a little highs to that too. Okay, that crash cymbal needs to have a little bit more highs. You probably can't hear it as good as I am in my studio with these great studio monitors, but you can now hear that crash cymbal. Listen to the crash cymbal in this fill. It really stands out. Again, another thing with the Korg Pa5x. So real quick to sum up, you can change all you want in the drums, all the things in the drum. Go to the, you're going to be in your regular system. You go to menu, you go to drum editor, and all the drums in there can be edited, and play the regular pattern to see how that fits, and then play the fills to see where those fills are. And you can change those parameters of those cymbals and snares and drums and make them sound more real in your mix. So that's how you use the drum editor. Okay, drums, and more drums. I'm going to show you another way you can edit your drums. Now, like I showed you previously, is that when you edit the drums in Drum Editor, you're not editing the actual drum kit. You're actually editing the parameters of the style. So again, that's a great thing to do because now you can have the same drum set for different styles, but that drum set can sound different. And what I'm going to show you now is how you edit the drum kit. But theoretically, or actually, I really wouldn't recommend this because there's so many drum kits in the Pa5x, so many different drum kits you can use, and you can change that sound of that drum set or that drum kit in the style itself with the drum editor. And then that way it's not going to, take anything away from the drum kit. But if you want to actually go in and edit the drum kit, this is how you do it. So first we hit record edit. Then we go into sound edit. Now it brought up hybrid grand. All right, let's go to click on that, tap on that, go down here, go to drums, and let's just bring up Pop Kit, exit, and there it is, Pop Kit RO. That's the one we're going to edit. Now, you could actually do some editing right in here, but let's go back into Kit. Now, This is the whole layout of the drum kit. Let's go up here to the drum kit. This is the whole layout of the drum kit. And if I hit this C, you can see it light up on the screen right here. And that D2 is actually the snare. So those are actually playing the samples. Now here's where it gets really complex. Let's go to voice mixer, or let's go to velocity level. Here's what's happening when you're playing that snare. If you see that little orange light, you see it's on 90 now. But if I tap it real light, it's going on 30. What these are samples. Now right now you got 7 active samples on just this snare sound. And you can tell, as I showed you in the previous video, when you hit that drum, it measures the velocity and it'll play a certain sample to get you that sound of a real drum. And that's what's happening here. So at 30, it's playing this sample here. Now, if you wanted to change this whole snare sound, what you have to do is actually go in there and change all these samples. So now the big thing to look at is to notice that these are all in sequence. So this is not just one sample, it's actually a sample bank. Now we can change that, but let's go, it's gone down to 362, but that must be in another bank, because if you look, if we go back to 6.3, it's SD Reflect 14C1, which follows this C1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If we change this, it's now R3, which could be a whole different sample for something else. And you can see that it's not even the same sample. So that's probably, if we... So let's get that back to 63. If we go back here. Let's just do this right here and change this one. Now, see what happened? That's 3382, totally out of the bank of that snare. So when I hit that snare, but when it hits 90, that sounds like SDK. Who knows what that sample is for? So let's go back 3367. We want to go 3367. And now we got it back. So you can go in and change, but you're going to have to change all the banks of that snare to make it sound good, or whatever sound. So you can do that. You can EQ. Now, when we go to drum kit, you're going to basically see something also here. When you look up at the top, you're going to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you'll see under each number, 1 is 30, 2 is 45, and so on, all the way up to 7 is 120. That means that there are actually 7 samples in that snare sound. But if we go to the hi-hat, if you look at a hi-hat, and that might be just a simple rhythm hi-hat, there's only 2 samples. Actually, 1 sample. And some instruments are like that. The bass kick drum, I can see that goes up to 7. And if we go to, let's just go over here to, and that's how you get these different samples. So go back, make sure we're in a pop kit again, exit. I want to go back to menu again, drum kit. Okay, so the drum kit, and let's go back to drum kit. I pushed the wrong button. Now, if you did make a change, if you go down to voice mixer, single trigger, actually, I don't want single trigger is kind of a voice mode kind of single trigger. We don't want that because we're going to want to go with a multiple trigger kind of thing. A group, exclusive group, choke off, all this stuff. A lot of this stuff, enable note to receive. You're going to want a note because we want the note to be received, and all this other stuff too, the level, mixer level, dB. This is all cool stuff to adjust and it will adjust to the drum kit. So there's something I want to do, go back into this drum editor again and get a little bit more precise, because I think there's something I missed that I want you to understand. So we go to record edit, sound edit, we brought up the pop kit 1, we hit menu, we go into drum editor, and it brings up this menu. And I already explained on how the velocities change. When that snare is being hit like this and it's hit real hard, it changes all these samples. But one thing I wanted to also go back, because I went over it a little bit too quick, I think, before I finished this video. Let's go back to the drum kit. This menu here is actually not going to change the EQ settings of the kit, but actually the individual samples. If we go back to velocity, you'll see that at 90, let's go here, 90. At 90, that's playing sample 3367 and what its definition is and all that. Okay, so let's go back to the main drum kit. You're going to see that 90 is right here. So if we go to sample 5, which let's make sure that's right. So that's sample 5 over here. It says sample 5. And let's go back up here to the drum kit. That's sample 5. We click because there's 1, 2, actually this, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is 5. You're going to see that that's actually 3367. Let me go back to this again, just to make sure. 3367. Okay. So what this is going to do is change the anything to that sample. You can transpose that and actually transpose the sample. Now, I'm not going to get involved with this because I don't want to mess this set up. But you would actually change the attack, the delay, resonance of this sample. So in other words, if you clicked on 4, you're going to be playing with that. We clicked on 2. Now we're at sample 3364, and we can change the thing on that. We can change all the parameters of that sample. So these actually go to each sample. So we actually hit the 7, we go up to 7. That's actually 8. There's 7. We go to the 7, and this is going to change the parameters of that sample. And then we can actually go up in here and then say a copy drum kit or save sound. And when we do save sound, that would be saving the kit. Exit out of that. So I wanted to clarify that too, because I think I went over that too quick. Also, you could actually change, if you wanted to get really into the details of it, you could actually change the velocities. So if I wanted the sample 4 to ring at, say, 77, the velocity, remember velocity goes from 0 to 127. So boom. Now, one thing that's really cool about the Korg Pa5x is it won't allow 2 samples to be played at the same time. So in other words, that's sample 5's at 90. Watch. I can go to 89, but I can't go anything higher, because anything higher is going to sample this one. And 90, I can't go any lower than 89. See where I'm going with this? Let me go back over that again. I think we were at 77. Or 77. Let's go 70. So when you're adjusting, what this is going to do is this is your low. Like we go back here. This was all the velocities. When I hit a velocity 30, I'm hitting that sample. When I hit high velocity, I'm hitting this sample. And go back to the drum kit. So you could actually adjust the velocities. So if you really wanted to get down to the nitty gritty, you could actually take and have that sample come in at a different velocity. But what ends up happening, let's go back here to 45, and we'll probably only be able to go up to 59. Yes, you only be able to go to 59. Why? Because sample 2 can only go to 59 because sample 3 is at 60. Now, if we raise sample 3 to 61, we could probably take sample 2 to 60. So, and all these other parameters you can actually change to get, we'll go back to this 5 here, the 90, and transpose that down. Let's see what happens. Go back here to the velocity, check. Hear it? Do you hear it? Every time I hit 90, what happens? When I hit 90, I transpose, let's just make it really crazy here. Let's go down a whole octave.
So now let's go back and we can check with the velocity switch. So that just gives you a good example, because when I get to the velocity of 90, but if I go above the velocity, so all this, the decay, you can actually change the parameters of that sample. Again, you have to be careful, because what this is going to do is change the parameters of that kit. So in other words, now that kit will be changed. And if you take this kit into different styles, that kit is going to remain the same. So again, this screen edits the individual samples. And remember, this is what happens. These are the samples as measured with their velocity. And if you go back to the drum kit, this will edit that sample. So it gives you even more of a micromanaging of the drum kit. You can really get down to the drum kits. This is all cool stuff to adjust, and it will adjust to the drum kit. But again, like I told you before, if you make changes to this drum kit in here, those changes will be all through every style. In other words, this kit will sound that way in all the styles.
So I hope this video gave you some insight on how to use the drum editor and how to edit some drum sounds in the Korg Pa5x. A very powerful tool. That way you can edit that drum kit to fit the style of music you're playing. So take care, my friends, and thanks for watching.